set a timer, heat stuff. That in the language of product management is known as MVP, which is minimum viable product. These products are usually created to do market testing kind of thing. Okay, so once I've built this product, I can release it. It is built with very less resources. I can release it in the market and see how people are responding to it, and then I can go into the agile framework of continuously iterating based on my user feedback. Yeah.
हाँ
Then
बट
along with
और
this,
क्या
also
क्या
on the user facing side, once you have the product, like right now, the journey which we were talking about, so you have to continuously collaborate with your sales teams and manage on whatever deliverables are there. This would also differ a bit between B2B and B2C verticals. How many of you know what B2B and B2C is? Okay, so B2B is business to business products, whereas B2C is business to consumer. So B2B is usually a enterprise building something and selling it to another enterprise. Akshara, I see you've raised a hand. Do you have a question?
अच्छा चाहिए वो फटाना है
Practice, you can move forward. She's saying no. I guess she was about to answer the question which you asked. That's why she raised that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, enterprise selling directly to another enterprise, that's B2B. So that differs a bit for the sales cycles because there's a sales team which reaches out. Whereas in B2B, B2C, which is business to consumers, think of WhatsApp or Instagram as an app. So that's a business to consumer thing. So that's a bit different. Then you also work like on the beginning part that we were discussing. You work with the strategy team. So bigger organizations have dedicated strategy teams. In startups, you tend to lead a strategy team as well. So you work on defining the strategy of the product and also like market opportunities analysis. Like there are again two types of things. You do qualitative analysis, you do quantitative analysis. So these are the sort of things that you do every day being a product manager. Okay. So yeah, I think I've already spoken about my journey, but yeah, the transition which I often get asked about is how did I move from a very tech-heavy role into product management? I think this was the question I was asked when I used to interview for product roles as a fresher as well. So I had a profile which was very tech-heavy. I had done a lot of ML research work, and then I did this AI research thing at ISRO. Before that, also I did a lot of. But along with this, despite having a lot of business strategy roles under my resume, I was often asked that why do I want this transition? My answer was very clear that I was very much interested in business side of things. That I just didn't need to be involved in. I thoroughly enjoyed tech, as you can already see with my profile. But I also want to be exposed to why are we doing things, which is like the business side of things and also the user side of things. So I was very clear about product. But yeah, so I took this role after my engineering of a researcher, did thorough hardcore research, just a lot of coding work, research work around technologies, tools, building stuff. And then I transitioned into product role. So like as a fresher, that was my first role. I used to work with a company called JustPay. How many of you know JustPay? It's the largest payment aggregator in India, and it's also the company which has built the UPI stack along with the UI. Yeah. So one thing that has always helped, like in terms of whenever I get asked about this transition, like if someone wants to move from a very tech-heavy role, because most of my friends are developers. So again, like if you want to move from a tech role to product role, there are a lot of courses that you can do. There are people go through the MBA route as well, that you can get a degree, get formal exposure to business side of things, user side of things. Because along with knowing what the product is, you also need to know the user side of stuff, that why are you doing things, so that if you are able to justify through your experience, like the projects which you have done, maybe you can build some products yourself as well. Those are the kind of projects you can take up. So yeah, I also happen to have a startup of my own, like back when I was in college. So that also helped because there I was doing, like I was playing the role of a CEO. I was doing everything. I was doing product development, I was doing user research, I was doing market research. So that kind of experience really helps in showing, because I think people want to see proof of why would you be able to do a certain job, and product product role in general is a very high ownership role, because you are the person who's giving directive to a whole engineering team on what to build. So those are the kind of resources which are being spent. So you need to be very clear on why something needs to be done. So people need to see. That's why you would have often seen like product roles are not offered to freshers, because people need proof of why you are a good fit, and why a certain young kid would be able to define something, and why should we hire you. So these are the kind of things that you need to establish. That could be like that, don't necessarily need to come via a prior product role. You can establish it by building your own products as well, which is very easy in today's world. Okay. So yeah, projects and roles which I did before was like during my engineering, did a startup. I was the founder. I developed products. I filed patents. So that entire journey, like I got very good with communicating with people, documentation, and obviously like in the product development side, the technology side stuff of things. Then I used to continuously work on different research products, a lot of which were centered around machine learning. Since I was keenly interested, like I was very much interested in how data can help in developing certain things and solving problems. So I used to keep doing these products. And business strategy, as I mentioned, like had a very keen interest on business side of things. So I used to work with a lot of different companies in order to figure out what they are doing, developing high level strategies to improve business or whatever target they had at that point of time. I also led a HULT prize. So if you know, Bill Gates and the United Nations have a combined venture called the HULT Society. How many of you know about it? Raise your hands. So I used to lead that society when I was in college. That's a very interesting. So if any of you are from, like if any of you are currently studying in college, that's a very good exposure. You should like definitely go and apply to it. Try to become a coordinator. Try to participate in it. It's a very wonderful platform. And then yeah, then I went to Wistro and then got into my product roles. Okay, now if we talk about like underlying things that you need to be very good at, I think two very basic things which, as kids, maybe a lot of people hate, maybe a lot of people loved. I think people who are in tech definitely love those things. I think maths and English, these are two things. So, English, I say because communication, the business side of things that come, and second is maths. So, even when we are talking about AI, under the hood it's all maths. It's a lot of complex maths. It's a lot of calculations, formulas, a lot of mathematical concepts which are there. So you need to be very good with the basics in order to step up and get acquainted to these complex things. So AI, though artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these hype words, under the hood it's a lot of complex maths that you need to be very good with. Then once you are you have a good grasp of mathematical concepts, you get started with coding, or you maybe you can parallelly also get started. Again, how I see programming has always been, it's a way to solve problems. You are directing a computer to do stuff based on you have certain things in mind and how to do it. So that's a directive that you're giving. So you can get started with now it again depends. A lot of people like to get started with languages like C sharp. A lot of people like to get started with Python. The difference is, one is like a very high level language, one is a low level language. So when I say high level, it's very close to human. So now if you go and see the structure of how Python programming language works, okay, maybe if this is getting too heavy on the tech side. How many of you already know about what Python is? Okay. Yeah. So Python is a programming language which is used to, code applications, programs. So yeah, it's very easy in terms of, if you have to write a program, it's very close to English, it's very close to human language. So you just have to go and define what you need the computer to do. So you can get started with that. You need to be acquainted with very basics of coding. Now, I would say that's not a maker or breaker, as in, but it's a very good to have skill, because when you're becoming a product manager, when you're becoming a researcher, knowing how your system works is very helpful. There are a lot of product managers who come from non-technical backgrounds, which is also a very good path that they choose. uh, so that is usually, those PMs are usually very business driven PMs. They look after growth, they look after business. But if you want to be on the tech side, this would be a prerequisite that people would say. So a lot of roles even have, you need to have an engineering degree. So that is just because companies want to see that you understand the product, because ultimately if you're going to manage something you need to know what it actually is. So some kind of technical exposure always helps. So yeah. And then when we talk about AI, so as I was talking, like complex mathematical concepts, then comes so most of the AI work happens in Python because there are already a lot of predefined libraries which are again like very helpful. So NumPy, Panda, how many of you have heard about them? If you have done some kind of data science work or played around with data using these libraries. So yeah, again, they are predefined, and libraries are usually predefined pieces of code. So you can just invoke a function to do, just imagine you have so much of data. Now, imagine the scale at which Amazon or say Flipkart or any of these companies operate, and the amount of data that they would have. Now, you can't just manually sit and, if you want to figure out, okay, how many people bought this particular item, you can't manually sit and, read through lines or do it in Excel. So that is where all these data science libraries come in handy, that you just write one command and get extracted whatever information that you want. And second very important aspect about product management, or like AI product management, any kind of product management, is you need to be very user empathetic. You need to understand, you need to be very user obsessed. You need to be, you should be coming from where a user stands. So because this is also helpful that when you go to your engineering team and when you're negotiating that, okay, this is what we want to build, you will be able to explain that why you need to do it. You will be able to explain that, okay, my user is facing this problem, this is. So if you're, imagine you are a product manager of an e-commerce website and you want to build a certain filter feature. Now in order to be able to justify why you want to do it, you need to explain, okay, my users are facing this problem. They spend 5 minutes just browsing through products. If we have this is going to ease their lives. And you can talk in metrics, actually, like numbers, that okay, this is going to save this much amount of time. I have 100,000 users, every user will save 2 minutes, so this equals to this is. So you'll be able to talk. So thinking from a user's shoes is very important. I think that's a non-negotiable thing if any of you are planning to transition into product. Okay, so I think we've done a lot of talking. And okay, so how many of you are actually bored now and you want to do something exciting, fun, or was listening to all of this exciting as well? Because now I think we have a more exciting thing to. Okay. So yeah, I think I hope none of you have already, kind of slept or snoozed. So because we have a really exciting thing coming up, we'll do a very quick short case study on building a AI powered assistant for your e-commerce website. And here we are not just going to build like the entire process that I was talking about, that the strategy, all the big words that we keep talking about, this business strategy, this, that. So how do you actually put it into action? So this is like a very live thing into getting the shoes of how all of this is done, how all of these big words translate into actionable items, and what actually happens behind the scenes. So just for some quick background. Now it's not just going to be me. I want all of you to assume that you are a product manager, or you are someone, you are CEO of a e-commerce company, and you decide to build a personalized shopping assistant for your app. Now, okay, even before we get into this, I would want to start with, why would you want to invest in such a thing? That should be the first point that you ask. So that is how we go about things, because it's
Sunuru
not just
Sahaj,
because
Sunuru.
everyone is doing, okay, AI chatbot, AI this, I want to do it. But there needs to be something that, okay, why we are doing this. Okay, yeah. So I want all of you to quickly just sit, think, and list down 2 3 points that why such a technology or why such a new feature should be added. Okay. Now, to assist you with how I would go about thinking about such a scenario is, now imagine like if we think through first principles perspective, imagine a e-commerce store is nothing but like a regular store on the phone or on your like laptop, anything. It's just a digital version of a local shop. Now imagine if you as a customer walk into a shop and you want to buy certain tomato ketchup or something. Now you have to browse through different sections of the store in order to figure out, and then so one step is the store has different like section managers which assist you. Okay, this is the section, you go talk to them and they redirect you to this particular place. Now imagine how would the world look like if they had a dedicated store manager who came to you, who asked you what you needed, and then gave you the item. Wouldn't it be like super easy, super time saving? And going one more step further, you reach a store and the person already knows, okay, this time of the day, this time of the month, this is what you might be looking for. Now how that could be like scary, you might get freaked out, but how a person would know that you as a customer, on every first or every fifth of a month you buy this particular tomato ketchup bottle. This is a 1 liter bottle, this would last you say about a month, so next month again. So this is a pattern that you are seeing. Now do you realize, like, this is what happens when you have data. This is how all these different e-commerce websites are becoming actually very smart. So the smartness part is nothing but very smart analysis of all the data that they have. So okay, yeah. So this is how we would go about, like, this is the why part of it, that why we want to build such a thing. Now coming to use cases, when you are trying to build a personalized shopping assistant or anything, in the backend we have already discussed. Now we are not just thinking it's a fancy product which is, talking to you something, but in the backend it's a lot of data processing. So it's not just serving one purpose as we discussed, it's serving a lot more than that. So one would be, you can get personalized product recommendations. Now think about a fashion e-commerce website which is trying to sell you. Now they very well know what kind of taste you have. Now you must have seen this in your local shops as well, like a one particular shop from where you buy clothes very frequently. That shopkeeper tends to understand your taste over a period of time. Now imagine if similar things happen with apps, so you don't have to scroll through lots and lots of content that they have, because they have a catalog of more than millions of items. So you don't have to scroll through everything. You can get personalized ideas around what you are looking for. That saves you time. That gives you better ideas around what you can buy. So one is personalized product recommendations. Secondary use case is also like what we were talking about, automated restocking, or reminders to buy certain things. Now you might have faced this, that now even on WhatsApp you are getting all these targeted marketing campaigns by different e-commerce websites. So all of this happens through your prior purchase data, your order history, your browsing patterns. Like you go on certain apps, you're looking for things, you might have added certain items to the cart. So that particular company knows that you are kind of interested in this item, so they might decide to offer you some extra discount in order to convert you, because right now you are at an intense stage where you have added a certain thing to the cart. So in order to convert you, they might offer you say a 50 rupee discount, because then comes the business. So now when you are thinking from business perspective, this was from a user perspective, that okay, I already want to buy this item, I'm getting 50 rupees off, why not buy it? Now if you think from business perspective, the reason to do this would be, if I have all your data, I already know that you are a very high intent user, and a very small change point could directly convert you, and conversion means a lot for me as a business. So you are a very good user to target at that particular point in time. Now when I have your data, I also know when to target you, at what point in the day do I need to send you a notification. Best example are all the food delivery apps. You continuously keep getting all these notifications around lunchtime, because they know at what time you're likely to order something. So this is the power of data. Then, okay, when you're looking from business perspective, you can't just be talking in qualitative amount, you need to quantify things. So how would you measure the success of such a product? Now, if you're making a chatbot, you're going to invest a lot of things, right? You're going to invest your engineering bandwidth, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of human resource capital. So how do you measure if a certain product is successful? You need to define that before you are building it. Because at the end, when you have built it, when you have launched it, when people are using it, you need to be able to see what is the impact that it has brought. And to measure impact, you need to have some kind of metrics set. So just I want you guys to, like, forget what is there on the screen. I want you guys to think about what should be the impact of such a product. Why are you trying to build it? Like, we have already discussed it, you just need to list it down again in certain quantifiable metric terms. We've already been discussing it. Yeah. So I think the best target is like, every shopkeeper wants that they sell more. So here we talk in terms of any e-commerce talks in terms of average order value. So average order value or AOV is nothing but the value of the order, like the total amount of which is amount for which the orders are being placed, say 500 rupees. So if most of the customers go and place orders for around say 500, so average comes out to be around 500 in this. So that is called the AOV, the average order value. Then another thing is, as we were talking, that your local shopkeeper, you tend to go to that shop again and again. Why? Because that person understands you, and the turnaround time for you on that shop is very easy because he shows you what you want. You can directly buy it and get out. So you keep going there. Now that activity of keep going to a same shop is called customer loyalty, because you're, say in certain terms, you're loyal to that particular shop.
Salah.
So in
Ah,
terms of e-commerce, it is called customer retention.
Dirty.
Like in general, it's called
Dirty.
customer retention rate. Like what amount of customers you are retaining. So if you went to a particular e-commerce, now when you're going for a second purchase, you are called to be like a retained customer. So what percentage of customers are retained? What percentage of customers never come back? Because if a person comes, orders you for once and then never comes back, there is something missing, right? Some experience was broken, something was not good, that the person did not come back. So again, like when you're trying to build such a personalized product, you're trying to retain customers. So this is again a very important metric that you see. Reduction in cart abandonment, again, as I said, like when you are adding items, when they are very high intent items, the conversion is going to be higher. So very few people will, the overall conversion would improve, and like abandonment rates for cart would drop by a lot of amount. And these are the best metrics for a business. Okay. So now how we go about it? Now we'll break this down into two things. One is the user side of things, which should be very business focused, and second comes the AI part of it. That how do you actually go and visualize how all of this is going to happen? So first thing starts with data. As I mentioned, data is like a gold mine. Data is the new oil, as we keep saying. So you start with data collection. Here we've mentioned data collection. Data collection is nothing but going through all the data which e-commerce would already have. So you as a user, now when you have seen, you already have a login, right? So that login in a database is linked to a user ID, and all sorts of information related to your profile are already there with this company. So they have tons and tons of, or I would say like millions of data points about you. And this is where I think the power of algorithms comes in, because when you have all this data, a lot of data is junk also. And to convert this raw data into information, like what are the kind of things that I'm looking for, you need to process it, you need to run a lot of different analysis on it. So that is where, so we start with data cleaning. Again, like all these different libraries that we were talking about, they are very helpful, because just in a click, in 2 3 commands, you're able to sort out all the data, you're able to filter out nonsense data and get actually what you want, which is insightful. So this is the power of machine learning that happens, because just trying to imagine the scale at which all of these things operate, right? Billions of users, billions of transactions, billions of logins. Yeah. Then comes so this is all like mostly the machine learning part of it, and then comes the AI part of it. So when you already have all the data, you know that this was the pattern. Now when you're trying to predict something, that is where AI comes into picture. That you are, based on the data points, you are trying to predict the future. That okay, if this person has did this thing, what he or she is more likely to do in the next purchase, or say next order, next month, next day, something like that. So that is where this comes in. So there are a lot of different algorithms, like there are convolution neural networks, there are LSTMs, there are, so all these, there's again, it's getting a bit heavy, I would say, like, but yeah, once you start reading, these are nothing but short algorithms on how these systems work. So how you would go about predicting. Another thing is like just a very basic thinking, not going very deep into the tech. Just try to imagine what one data point could be, how frequently the user is coming to you, or how frequently he or she is purchasing a particular item. Now apart from that, there can be a lot of other data items as well, right? So figuring out all these parameters is where the business hat comes in. That this is one particular parameter, but there are 10 other different. And any machine learning or any AI algorithm works best when you have more and more data points. I won't say junk data points, they need to be very meaningful, but yeah, a lot of data points if you happen to have them. So that is where, a mixture of your business and tech hat comes in, that you start figuring out, okay, these data points are very valuable for me. Okay, these are the things which will help me in developing an algorithm which has the best predictions. So you start, and for you to be able to do this, you need to be acquainted with all these technical terms, all these technical terminologies, tech systems. So that is where all these reading comes in handy, knowing about these concepts. So if you've done, a basic course on something, that you understand the basics of all of this, and then continuous reading about what's happening in the market. Because when you are trying to think about an algorithm or a technology, you also need to know what's the latest in the market, right? So today, if someone wants to develop a chatbot, and if you remember the IRCTC one, where you go and do option based thing, that okay, I want to buy this, then comes the next option. If you build something like this, it's practically junk, right? You can't go about with such a thing in the market. So being very active or vigilant about what's happening currently, all the latest trends, it's very important. So yeah. Okay. So now coming to very basics of how you like identify the problems. This is a short mental framework kind of thing which I've created for myself. Happy to share with all of you. So it's like, how do you identify a particular problem? Now you've decided you're trying to build a chatbot, but what is the problem that you're trying to solve? So it's called a PEP framework. So you have any there's a circles framework also, which is like known for years now. There are a lot of fancy terms, there are a lot of fancy frameworks, but I think the basic that you need to keep in mind is you need to uh, have, like, think of yourself as the user. Get into the shoes, like either from your first hand experience, like there are two ways to think about a user. Either you yourself have had that kind of experience, like for example, if I ask you to design a refrigerator for a blind person. Now maybe like you are not blind, but you can close your eyes, you can try to imagine what kind of thing would go. So that is like first experience. Second is, you have seen some of your friend, like you've seen a blind person how they interact with a refrigerator or something. So then you are able to realize, okay, these are the problems they are facing. So that is because first thing is understanding the user, getting into the shoes, understanding the problem. Okay, what kind of problem someone would might face. So when it comes to our current problem, what is the first thing that you would do? I think what I would do is open my e-commerce shopping apps and go through. Okay, then I would start realizing, okay, these are the problems. Then comes the secondary research. You take this app to your parents, your siblings, or any older people, and you also try to diversify the audience. So you don't just go to someone your age, which is your friends group, but you try to diversify in terms of demographics. So you try to test this app with different age groups, different regions, if possible, all of these things. So you get different feedback on what's happening. That is the experience. And then once you know what the user journey looks like, this is also like particularly part of the circles, but as I mentioned, all these frameworks are just terms to putting into action what needs to be done, but the basics remain the same, that it's the user journey and the problem. So then you start identifying, okay, these are the problems. Okay, this could be better. Okay, if I have to buy a tomato ketchup, I have to go and look for hours and I'm not able to find something. So these are the problems that you start listing. So that is how you've identified, okay, these are. And then once you are actually building products, there's also a very important aspect, which is prioritization. We won't talk about it in today's session, like given the time constraints that we have. But prioritization, once you're actually building it, today we'll just talk about how to identify problems and identify what needs to be built. Okay. Then comes a secondary research part that I was talking about. So there are multiple ways. You do a lot of web research. You do a lot of comparative analysis, because you are one particular e-commerce website. You go and research about what others are doing in the market. It is possible they've already solved this kind of problem. If they've already solved it, you don't need to be kind of okay, this is already solved, because it is possible they've solved it in a certain way. Because if you've read, Steve Jobs once said that no problem can ever be completely solved. So there's always some kind of gap, and it can always be improved. So you just need to go and figure out how can you improve it further, how can you improve the life of your users further. So you try to figure out, okay, this is missing this, and you start listening. So you do a comparative research, which is a huge chunk of your research work. Then you see market trends. There are a lot of publicly available data sets there. Otherwise you can go and purchase all these, because there are companies who are dedicated to doing all these research, and then their reports are sold at a very high cost, but they are very insightful. That's why people buy it. So you have all these trends report, because when you're trying to build something, you need to know what is the market size for it, right? If you how many of you watch Shark Tank? So you might have often heard the sharks asking this question, right? How big is the TAM? TAM is nothing but the total addressable market, which is the market size. Because when you are thinking about a business, you don't want to think small. You want to think about a large scale business. And in order to be able to do that, you need to ensure that the market that you're targeting is big enough. So that is something. And then is the user thing. So user, like directly going and talking to users is more of a primary research thing, where you're actually interacting with people, figuring out, like they can be your users. If you've not already built a product, they could be random people or people who you think might end up using a product. So you actually go and talk. And now when you are talking,
Mind
you
running
can't
the
just be talking in the air.
camera.
You need to have a proper questionnaire based on what outcome do you want from this conversation, because you can't be wasting time of the user you are interviewing and yourself as well. So you design a very thorough survey with data points that you want, because everything in the end needs to come out with some kind of actionable items. So you design a very thorough questionnaire which covers everything, which is not wasting a user's time. The user remains engaged in order to be able to answer you throughout your thing. And then you can, quantify all of this. A very good way is you design a questionnaire with say 10 questions. You quantify each of the questions, because in the end when you want insights from it, it becomes very easy. Now here is where your data hack comes in, that it becomes very easy for you to process all the information that you're gathering. Okay, then comes, like, once you already know, okay, these are the problems, people are not able to search for things, and this is a particular gap in terms of user experience, this is what you want to build. So you go and design, like, now you know what you need to build. Now how would you design, like how would you know what exactly do you want to build to solve this particular problem? Because now you know there's a problem, but how you decide that, how do you solve that problem? So for that you need to identify what is the best way. This can be done, like it's not necessary for a product manager to do it, but yeah, right now we're just thinking about, as the CEO of the product, so we need to think about what are the technologies that we can leverage to solve this problem. So it could be, once I start thinking about chatbots, I need to ensure, okay, not every user is going to, come and write a query in certain manner. So, okay, there's already natural language understanding available. So I need to leverage that. So a user can come and talk to me like a human. So you need to figure out, because when you're thinking about solutions, you need to know what's the best in the market, what's happening in terms of technological advancements. It's possible that technology is at a certain stage, but there are no products. So if you're well aware about the technologies, you'll know how to productize them and how to improve your product, how to leverage those. So it's very important to understand that. Then comes the design part of it. So here you'll be very closely collaborating with your user research teams and your design teams. So here you will, decide the flow, that okay, how would this experience look like when I'm building a chatbot? There would be an interface, there would be a text box, there would be a microphone if you're leveraging speech. So the entire flow of it, that is something you would need to sit and decide. Again, now you might be thinking it is so difficult to think about a product like that, but if you just think and think through the user journey, like if you are the user, you come to a platform, how would you use a chatbot? If you just sit and note it down, it becomes very easy to define that particular flow. And then obviously, like, all the research, all the surveys that you've done come in handy, that this is how people interact with your product, and this is how I would design my chatbot system to be. It could be a widget on the bottom, just pops up when you press, or it could be invoked by say okay Google kind of thing. So that is something you can decide based on how people are interacting. Then this is like all this starts to form into a PRD. You start listing it down and all of these things, and you get your engineering teams to build it. And then comes the MVP, which we started with, which is the minimum viable product. Now you create a very basic version of this product with very few resources and also very less time to market. You quickly create this, like say within a week, or like depending on the scale of your organization, you quickly create this product and release it into the market for your users to use, so that you start getting feedback. Okay, what is happening, how are people reacting to it? Now you might have seen all these these apps that you use, sometimes they roll out features and suddenly they are not there. So what happens is when these experiments are run, people realize, okay, this particular feature is not doing well. Instead of doing good, it is doing harm to our product. So they are rolled back. So this is like the test phase of it. So you design a basic product and give it to users to use it. It is also, all these beta testing things, if you are there. So all these features may be released to a very few chunk of users, active users. Now if you are an active user on any particular application, you can get into the beta programs, you can test out all these new features. They could be good, they could be bad, but you get to test them out, and these are the MVP features. And then that is why, then comes the assessment, that how do you know if it is doing good or not? Because when you are talking, it's easy, but when you are implementing all of this at a very large scale, you need numbers. And that is why it's very important to start with defining metrics. So if you've defined like accurate metrics, you're able to trace that how well a feature did. If not, you can roll it back. If yes, then you can iterate it further. So that is how the entire cycle goes. So yeah, this is a quick one screen show of. If you want, you can take screenshot. I think if this should be shared, not sure, but yeah, this is how the entire chain looks like. That how do you identify particular problem, go about building a product, defining what needs to be built, and then in the end, how it is performing, if you're supposed to run it or not. So this is in general how you should approach any kind of project to easily be able to swim through it. Okay. Coming back to AI and ML research, as I have already talked about, I think again I would like to emphasize on the importance of data science skills are very, very important. Like you can go and learn AI, I don't know, like there's a lot of hype going around things, but data science is very important to get into any such role. You need to be well acquainted with all these algorithms, all these mathematical concepts in order to be able to perform in these roles and perform the required tasks. Then you need to know about basic concepts. So different libraries, different things, these are part of the algorithms, but you need to be well aware about concepts. I think the most basic concepts in machine learning are supervised, unsupervised learning, when we talk about the training of the data. So how many of you are already aware about it, or how many of you are seeing it for the first time, or listening to it about for the first time? Okay, yeah, cool. So when you start reading, I think this becomes a very, so supervised learning, there's unsupervised learning, there's reinforcement learning. So if you might have heard that people are trying to train robots in order to learn themselves for now, based on their mistakes. So all these are different concepts, very high level concepts, based on which these algorithms develop. So as you start digging deeper into every particular vertical, you get to learn about how all of this works. Then again, TensorFlow, PyTorch, these are just tools. These are lots and lots of tools to assist you to dive through all this data and generate meaningful insights. Because data cleaning, visualization, these are the very important aspects of any data science uh, role, or any data science product that you're trying to build. Again, yeah. So again, here two of the things which you're seeing, I think MATLAB is very specific to a organization like ISRO. You won't find it in all these startups which are trying to build user apps or any other programs. MATLAB is very science heavy or research heavy software, which is usually done for all these algorithmic development, cleaning of data, visualization, all of these stuff. So yeah. And OpenCV, again, it's like a vision library. So these are the basic libraries. I think when you start reading about machine learning, or when you get started with data analysis, these are the first four libraries that you would come across. And these are just libraries. Now they have multiple functions under them. And once you start playing around with them, you realize it's very simple to, actually play around. It's as simple as invoking a function from these and then actually seeing how they work out. Now, when we come to other things like LLMs again, so if you're trying, there are a lot of models which are released every day. Hugging Face is the platform where you can actually go and see all these. There are a lot of other things as well where you can go and play around with these technologies, but they come at a very advanced level to get started with. I think these are some things that you would come across. Okay, now how do you actually go and play around with these libraries that we are talking about? So these are collaboration projects. So like the best way to do get started is get hands-on. And when you're doing it, you could be doing it in a group. You could be, doing it around with your research group, friends, anything. So these are some collaboration tools that we use. These are collaborative coding platforms. So you have Jupyter notebooks, which are very handy in terms of playing around with Python codes, coding in a group, or if you're doing a project for yourself as well. There's GitHub, which is like widely used, the widest used. These are two other tools over Leaf Zotero. Okay, cool. So I think I'll quickly hand over the stage to Shrey back again, and then we'll meet again. Shrey has something interesting to share with you guys.
Thank you, Prapti. Folks, before I go and talk to you about that thing, I want, because I was seeing too many questions people were having. So they were having regarding why she's talking about project management, why she's not talking about AI research. I joined for product AI research, not product management. So there is a reason why it was done. And there is a specific reason why it was done. There was something which was interrelated. It's not like that AI researcher, when you think of there's a black hat person sitting down and reading a research paper and doing stuff. No, it's not like that. The thing which you have might heard till this date might not be the reason what AI researchers does. There is a different vertical. The reason why we brought Prapti was to actually tell you what exactly their day-to-day looks like. They technically help you build products. So like if GPT 0.1 is coming, so there is an AI researcher sitting over there working as in person, doing research, building product, getting out into the market and giving it to you. And giving the stuff to you requires XYZ amount of thing needs to be done. That's why the reason you are taught about product management, and then you were taken to give you the understanding of what AI researchers does, what are the tools, what are the framework which is required. So that was a context of giving you all. When this thing is clear to you all, I want to know, everyone, anything you have in your mind, all the questions which you have in your mind, you can put down that questions in the chat box right now. I have opened that chat box. Prapti will take those questions after this thing. We have something which is very exciting and interesting we have been working and building on. So as I mentioned to you early on that we are doing our masterclasses, free masterclasses every day, and we have close to 15 masterclass, 16 masterclass which we have scheduled for the people for the coming weeks. I was over here to give you an understanding that we are building up a generative AI 6-month big program.
दोस्तों ये गर्मा गर्म चाय पीने से ना आपकी लाइफ की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होगी, आपकी सैलरी ग्रोथ नहीं होगी। अगर
आप
सर्विसेज आपको मिल जाती हैं जो कि आप
they want to build something out of generative AI. For that particular reason, we are launching a new program which we have. Is a 6-month program. It's a university certified program which we are building. It's a Jan University certified program which we are doing at this point of time. So technically they are 6 months, and these are the something which we are going to cover in next 6 months. So I'll just quickly run through you all that what we are going to cover and how we are going to cover, and post that I'll pass the stage to Prapti to take up your questions. Is that okay with everyone? Cool? Aligned? Great. So we are going to talk about month 1. Month 1 is basically going to be the fundamentals of all things which are going to cover application, what is generative AI, what is other thing. Month 2 we are going to cover web development. Month 3 we are going to cover a mobile app development. Month 4 we are going to cover AI powered application plus multimodal we are going to cover. Month 5 we are going to cover AI for working professional. It will include marketing, design, tech, finance, product, everywhere where you use market AI, we'll cover on that part. And month 6 is the month in which we are going to cover all about how you can use AI to build your own product. So this is the program which we are building and doing. I am going to ask my team to put a Calendly link in the chat box. If you feel like there is something which you want to be the part of, or you feel like you want to be one who wants to enroll for this program, feel free to put click on that link, book a Calendly call. Our team is going to sit down with you and give you the full understanding. And I understand all sessions. We believe in giving a free answers and free education. This is a free masterclass. We are not doing anything. We have 15 more free masterclass aligned. If you feel like you don't want to commit to something, you join a free masterclass, and we are going to give the immense value over there as well. So with this thing, I'm passing the stage back to Prapti. You can actually answer a few questions which I can see there are in chat box, Prapti.
Yes, I think the most frequent question is how to become a AI researcher, or people are a bit confused. I think the reason to talk about AI product more was maybe we got a bit misled, but I think once you're able to connect why you are doing a certain thing, it becomes easy to do the research part, because when you're researching on a certain topic, even when you're doing a thesis or say PhD on something, you need to be well aware with the context of why you are doing it. So you need to understand, and then you can pick a topic to go deeper into the technology side of things. In order to become a AI researcher, again, as I've mentioned, you need to be very good and very strong with your mathematical concepts. Then have a basic understanding of the current technologies, because when you're researching on something, you need to be aware of what is already there in order to be able to go one step ahead and build something, because research is all about innovation or finding something new or improving an existing thing. So that is something. There are a lot of newspapers around AI. Deep learning writes a lot of good stuff. You can go read, get yourself well versed with all these technologies. For ISRO specifically, the process for ISRO is they usually pick people from the top government institutions. Like usually MTech and PhD candidates are preferred, but undergraduate also you have a go. If you are from a well reputed government institution, you need to be in the top first second rank of the institution, and then formally through your dean of the college you can send an application. That is how you get. Otherwise, they have openings for master and PhD folks, which are open to everyone. You can apply through their portal. The application process is fairly simple. Like once you get shortlisted, there are round of interviews, then there are HR rounds, there are tests, and I think for formal recruitment, there are again tests which they announce, which can again be found on ISRO's official website. What other questions do we have?
Deepika, you can deep. You can put down your questions in the chat box. I've opened the chat box for you.
Okay, so I think Deep, you want to get started on this. You're still in class 10, you're very young. I think this is the right time. So best thing is be very thorough with your, right now you should focus on your exams, but be very thorough with mathematical concepts. Try to understand everything, not just for exam, but try to understand the concepts, because all of these will connect at some point in time. We do keep thinking that, arey, ye kahan use mein aayega? But be very thorough. Learn why you are learning a particular thing. Go deeper into it. Become strong with these concepts. Like as you progress, as you go to 12, and if you I'm not sure if you already code. If you don't, you can get started with coding. There are a lot of online resources available. You can get started with very basics. Like you can get started with writing basic programs. That is how you can get yourself acquainted to a particular programming language, and then slowly you can start picking up products. One step further, what I would say, since we are in the chat GPT or the AI era, you can make use of all these platforms in order to you can leverage chat GPT, you can leverage all these Gemini, Perplexity platforms to figure out what kind of projects you like to really use it as a instructor. Like how can you learn what is the project and use it as a parallel buddy. And yeah, that is how you can while you are getting good with your mathematical concepts and everything, you can begin programming. And yeah, that is I think how going further you can take up engineering, and that is a very traditional path, but I would say that is not the only path as well. So whatever you choose to do, but yeah, you need to be in the science field, you need to be in the math field in order to be able to do any such thing. Formally, engineering is a path that people prefer to go forward with. Otherwise, there are I think BSc in computer science, there is BCA and all of this. But yeah, if preferable, try to do engineering in computer science. There are engineering in AI courses as well now, so you can pick that up in order to go deeper into this particular field. Which programming language is good? So that is very